All right. Hey there, listeners. Welcome to Project Zero, where we hear about the journeys from some of the best project leaders in the game. My name's Alex Tuck, and I'm the host. And I'm here with a great friend, the senior manager of services at ClickUp, AJ Castellucci. Welcome to the podcast, AJ. Can't wait to hear about your
Thank
Project
you.
Zero. I bet you have
Yes.
plenty of
Oh,
them.
yeah. Thanks for having me. No, very honored to be here.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Cool. AJ, start us off. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do at ClickUp.
Yeah, sure. So my role is senior manager of services at ClickUp. I've been here for almost 4 years. I started as a consultant on the team. I really started this role of a partner engagement manager, how we got to know each other, but I we started giving more and more services to partners. And I was really leading that motion and building that team, those processes, and helping our partners get ramped up on delivering ClickUp services. And since then, I've been a manager on the team, doing a lot more of that same work with partners, but also managing our integrations team as well, who makes different integrations between ClickUp and other platforms. And for anyone who doesn't know ClickUp, we're a work management, project management tool. A lot of fun to use, very colorful, very cool. But yeah, just a great tool for collaboration and fun place to be.
Yeah, you can tell by that background you got there,
Yes,
that it's a pretty fun
definitely.
place to work. Awesome, cool. And you were at Smartsheet before
I
that.
was.
How about before that? Like, how did you get into project management to begin with?
Yeah. Yeah, so I've never actually officially been a project manager by title, but it definitely has been a big piece of my career and something I do all the time. But my job before Smartsheet, I worked for a really small consulting company. It was a healthcare IT consulting company in Hartford, which is not somewhere I ever really thought I would be. But I finished college. I moved to West Hartford, Connecticut, and had my job in Hartford. But yeah, we built custom systems for different healthcare companies. And it was a
Cool.
cool job because I got exposed to so much. Like I was really part of every part of the system life cycle you can imagine. And that's one of the benefits of being at a really tiny company is you have to do everything sometimes. So I was basically on one project the entire time I was there. We were designing and building a system for a case management agency. They worked with elder care with a lot of the state agencies in Connecticut. So we were building a system for the social workers and case managers to manage their clients and set up care plans for them and really manage all communication. The whole goal was to keep them out of the hospital and in their homes and to deliver services to their home, like Meals on Wheels or, a companion, whatever it might be. So that was the job. And again, I really did all components of that. I was doing the initial business requirements as a business analyst. I was designing the system and what it would look like and how it would work. I worked really closely with our developers in creating it and testing it, and then ultimately training the customer on how to use it and rolling it out with them. So it was great to be part of all of that as in my first job and kind of set me up for everything else I was going to do. But it was a lot of work for sure.
That's so interesting. Oh, wow. What did you study? I forget.
I was an economics major
Alright.
and
I
I do
knew
have my MBA, but I got that years later.
Interesting. I knew we had some kinda connection, right? Because economists think a different way. I was an econ major too, so,
You probably
uh,
also went to I imagine you had a liberal arts college somewhere, some small
that's right.
school.
That's right. Yep, same, for sure. I also got a bachelor's in business administration, but the econ degree is definitely the thing that makes me bend my brain a little differently.
Yeah, it's great.
Cool. Awesome. Alright. So this is what the people all come for, Project Zero, right? Tell me about that first project or, maybe 1 or 2 projects that, like, you really figured out, like, how to be a project manager, how to flex that project management muscle.
Yes. So, I mean, the my exposure to project management was really through that first project I mentioned that I spent my entire 2.5 years at that company doing the same project. And to be honest, it was kind of a mess. And if any of my former colleagues listen to this, mean no disrespect or anything, but it was very messy. And it's just the reality of what a lot of people do. All of our project management was in Excel, first of all. There was always a different version of the project plan. I mean, I had to go in as a business analyst. My manager wanted me to go in, like update my specific things I was working on, provide notes, whatever. Sometimes you couldn't do it because somebody else was working in it. You had to wait and then edit it later. Or sometimes you edited the wrong version and you had to go back, and it was just such a waste of time a lot of the time. And I mean, I knew there was this big list of tasks and phases and dates, but it didn't mean a whole lot to me at the time. Like it was just this big, messy plan. And I didn't know much else about project management or the importance of tooling or how we could be doing better. But that's just what it was. And I also remember we'd have our monthly or so status meetings with the customer, and we would be on site with them. We would pull up a deck. By the way, we'd spend hours and hours putting together a deck. That was also a mess. So just the time you spend putting into project management is actually insane. And this is what I think most people do. But I remember very vividly, we had this deck, we had slides on our health and our scope and our budget, and we would just put up a big green circle or a big yellow circle on those slides. And it didn't really mean much. There was no data behind it. It was just kind of our project managers or our directors being like, yeah, we're probably at a red here. Like we're running a little bit behind. And I was like, okay, that's fine. We're just putting up this yellow circle. That means we're maybe a little bit at risk. But again, there was no real methodology behind it at the time. So that was the first project. We got by. We we gave the reports to the clients. We stayed on schedule for the most part. We had a very in-depth plan that we updated, but my memory of that first project is just how much time it would take to do all of that. And I don't know how much value we even provided through that random red circle, but a lot of time went into it, putting it together, keeping it updated, keeping the right version in place. And it was necessary to have and make sure we were staying on track, but just a lot of time. And I don't know if you have any questions about that, but I wanted to talk about how my perception of that really changed the moment I moved to Smartsheet and kind of saw the importance of what a project management tool could do. Just really opened my mind to the world of project management and what things should be or how things should be run.
Yeah, it just made me think like, wow, if there was a tool for that, right?
I know, right? It's amazing. And I did not know that existed. And Excel was just what you had and what you used. And not, again, not even like a live version, a Google Sheet. It was something we had to create a new version and save it and sign it out, sign it back in. It was a bit of a mess.
Yeah, I had plenty of those earlier in my career too. So I feel you on that. I would love to hear your thoughts about how your perspective did change when you went over to Smartsheet, because that is eye opening. It's a great tool, and it's like an Excel spreadsheet with a ton of bells and whistles, with version control and all of that stuff. So yeah, talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me was just the fact that you could collaborate. You could have a dashboard that was automated based on all of this data. And these red, yellow, and green circles, or what I learned that Smartsheet is actually called a Harvey ball. I don't know if you knew that.
No, not no.
It's a Harvey ball. I think someone named Harvey invented it. But anyway, all these things could be automated and based on data, which was eye-opening to me, because before it was just all this mess and this scrambling to get a status report together or to get that presentation deck together. So yeah, I think the biggest thing to me was you have your project plan, and we in Smartsheet, we just had a dashboard connected to that plan. So as you're updating tasks, as the health is changing, as the dates are overdue, you have your dashboard set up to show whatever you want to show, your pie chart of tasks by health and what's overdue, what's at risk, whatever. It just exists. So that's exactly what you want to show the customer. We don't have to spend 2 hours building a new deck for it. And by the way, the customer can look at that live dashboard literally at any time. So that was huge. they could look into the project plan at any time too. Like they could have a live version of the project plan, which was pretty amazing. But also just, yeah, the data and methodology that went behind it, the red, yellow, and green actually meant that a certain percentage of your tasks were red, yellow, or green. And the reason a task was red, yellow, or green was because it was overdue or it wasn't a certain percent done based on how far we actually were into the length of the project. So you could really define your methodology as a project manager or what the customer might expect and make that all automated, which was really, really cool. And not to mention the fact that all of us could update this project plan and be in this sheet at the same time and not be worried about signing it in and out and doing all this work just for a person to update their tasks. So yeah, that really just showed me how much time is wasted on project management when you're not using the right tools. And you can add so much automation, so much visibility by both the internal team and the client when you're using the right tools. So that was a huge, huge difference to me.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, I love data-driven project insights are so huge. And
Yeah.
now almost every tool out there has some of that it built in, a lot of them much better than others and a lot
Yeah.
more customizable in certain tools.
Yeah, I think it made me a better consultant though as well. Like I could speak to the customer's pain of what a lot of them were coming to before they had that cool fancy new project management tool. So I'm totally happy I had that experience and could understand because now I take it for granted sometimes of what it can be like for a lot of people out there.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, that could, I just not to throw you a curveball here, but we talk about this a lot, right? You've been at Smartsheet, now you're at ClickUp. I'd love to hear your perspective on sort of some of the differentiators between those two. Because I know you still regard Smartsheet as a great tool for certain things, right?
Mm.
What's the difference between those two in your mind?
Yeah. I do think Smartsheet is pretty unique in the market because it's a spreadsheet. And, ClickUp and Monday and Asana and a lot of those are much different. They're task-based, they look a lot nicer, especially ClickUp. But yes, Smartsheet is a spreadsheet. And there are good things about that. You can write any formula you want. You can make any table and do any type of reporting you want. So really anything you're familiar with doing reporting wise in Excel, you can do in Smartsheet. So I feel like that custom reporting, that formula writing is all really great for making nice dashboards and being very, very customized about how your data rolls up and what data you're reporting on. On the other hand, the downside of that is that it takes a certain type of person to be able to do that. I know as a consultant there, the reason they had consulting was because they didn't want or they didn't know how to write these formulas or to put these dashboards together. So it took a lot of work to get to that point. Versus in ClickUp, you maybe don't have as much control over the formulas and the type of dashboarding you can make, but you can, anyone can pick up a dashboard and make it. There's like a whole wizard you walk through and a whole, all these screens you walk through that step by step helps you make that widget on a dashboard, which is super helpful. So I do see Smartsheet as a great reporting tool and you can get by from a project management perspective and have really great reports. But a lot of the time it's a single project manager updating that sheet. In ClickUp, I've seen a ton of collaboration that I've really never seen before, where you really can get people out of email and just in ClickUp. You can get people to update all of their tasks and have, whole conversations right within the project plan. So I think from a team collaboration standpoint and like a tool consolidation standpoint, I've never really seen anything like ClickUp and anyone able to do that. Like I don't send emails anymore unless I'm working with someone who doesn't have ClickUp, which is amazing. I don't use Slack anymore because we have chat in ClickUp. So that really brings project management all together. You're getting all aspects of it, the project plan, the dashboard, the communication all in one place. And I feel like Smartsheet can only do one aspect of that. So, and it does it really well, but ClickUp, I think, is more encompassing for a whole team.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, that's where that work management component comes in versus just purely managing a single project or maybe a portfolio of projects.
Right.
I know project managers love the simple project management tool that they can manage anything with, but I can attest to this. Like, we have all of our clients and ourselves in ClickUp right now, and there's so much collaboration going on in there. Thanks for that perspective. That's really, I think it's unique because you've been at both places. So
Yeah.
yeah, and
And
I
yeah,
know you're
I'm always I try to be very open with customers I'm talking to who maybe are considering both. Like I see them as two different things that do different things very well. So I think they could be a good fit for anyone, depending on the situation.
let's talk a little bit about sort of your career trajectory right now and talk about, again, you haven't had the official title of project manager yet. You work as a leader of consultants implementing a project management tool. So you have to know a little bit about it. What's the number one skill that you've seen among project managers? Like, what do you think is that one thing that you think they need to be successful?
Everyone's very organized, of course. A lot of type A people who do not like to let the ball drop. So that's one thing. And by the way, your tool should help you not let those balls drop when you have a million projects going on. So that's definitely one. But I think everyone is also a really good communicator and collaborator. You usually have to work with a lot of different people with different opinions, different things that are important to them. And you have to find a way to get them to a common goal or to work toward a common goal. So being able to maybe adjust your tone or just adjust how you communicate with these different stakeholders that have very different personalities is super important because you're ultimately responsible for that one goal and you're coordinating all those people to achieve that. So, so yeah, the organization, the communication, I think is super critical.
How do you define success with a project, like a successful ClickUp implementation? What does that look like?
Sure. It really depends on each customer. And that is why it's important to define what that actually means from the customer's point of view from the beginning. I think from ClickUp's point of view, we want to make sure that the users are in there, they're happy, they're active, they're using all of our features. That's really important from our perspective. But you need to know what's going to make the customer happy at the end of the day, or all those things that I just mentioned are never going to happen to begin with. So every project, every customer is going to have different goals. It might be that they want to get everyone into one place collaborating. They might want to increase their timelines on whatever widget they're delivering or project they're delivering, whatever that might be. Or they might want to cut costs by consolidating other tools. So whatever that is, we need to define that from the beginning. And by the end of the project, we should be able to say that we've achieved those things, or we're at least well on our way to achieving those things. So we definitely talk about that a lot, defining those goals up front and not just defining them at a high level, but having some metric in place that you can point to at the end of the project and say, here's the data that shows we achieved this goal that you agreed to at the beginning.
Yeah, I love that. Focusing on what the customer thinks success is. So this is the success criteria at the beginning. That's huge.
For sure.
Love that one. Can you talk a little bit about how your career has progressed? I'd love to hear what prompted you to get your MBA at Rice, right? And talk me through that a little bit.
Sure. So yeah, I started as a business analyst, obviously, and was doing the whole consulting thing and put in a million different directions over there. So I got exposed to a lot at that first company. It was called SMC Partners, by the way, very, very small. And it exposed me to a lot, which was great. I think at the time I realized I liked having a software that was built that I was an expert on, that I could work with customers on implementing and using and getting value out of it. So that's how I kind of ended up at a SaaS company at Smartsheet. And there I started as a consultant as well. And then also ended up being a manager at Smartsheet and with managing that team of consultants who did these smaller onboarding projects with new customers. While I was at Smartsheet, I did get my MBA while I was there and while I was working. So my program at Rice was part-time and remote. I was supposed to go there a lot more often, actually. Like I was excited about that program because there was going to be in-person classes and a trip and all these things. And then the majority of it was during COVID, of course. So it was a good time to be doing that because I had something to do and I was super busy all of COVID because I was still doing school. But I did miss out on some of those in-person opportunities, which was a bummer. But overall, I wanted it was something I always wanted to have to get my MBA. And it's really a very high level degree. Unless you specialize in something and get a certain type of MBA, you learn a lot of high level things about a lot of different aspects of business and a lot of different areas in business. So I think as a consultant, it was super helpful because you're very familiar with all different teams and all different aspects of the company. And you can speak intelligently about any of that with most customers. But also as a manager, you do not have experience with accounting necessarily or these other departments that you're going to collaborate with or reading a financial statement, whatever it might be. But now because you have your MBA, you actually understand what these things mean and you can speak intelligently about them to people who have a lot more experience than you. So I think that was all super helpful and I'm happy that I got it. And my advice to people would be, I do think it's really useful for switching careers, which is not something I did. I think what I did is a little bit less common, but it got me to a different level of experience that I wouldn't have had unless I had a lot of that management experience. So I'm super happy I have it. That was a little bit of a tangent. I then ended up joining ClickUp afterward, after a little bit of management experience at Smartsheet. And I actually joined ClickUp as a consultant again. And I had no issue with taking a step back, so to speak, and being an IC again, because I really liked at Smartsheet that I had so much background information and knowledge of the platform before I was a manager. I thought it helped me be a much better manager. So that was still my goal at ClickUp, but I was happy to go through that path again. And now that's where I am right now, managing a bunch of people and a bunch of teams and different projects at ClickUp.
Love it. Love it. And you are probably the most knowledgeable ClickUp person that I know. You're going to get a bunch
I don't know
of
if I am.
messages
I don't
from
know if I
random
am
LinkedIn.
anymore. Yeah. I feel like now I'm a little bit out of the project, not in the, or out of the product. I'm not in the weeds on all the project stuff. I still know my stuff. Don't get me wrong, but I think there are others who are better than me.
Love it. I love that humility there. All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. That's my favorite part of the podcast because it helps paint that picture for people that are earlier in their career and maybe they don't even know they want to go into project management yet, but it shows that like there's no one clear path into becoming like a project leader, right? There's so many different paths and you've shown like what I would say is like a pretty traditional like BA to PM consulting leader path.
Yeah.
But like you said, you've never been a official project manager. You've just been a consultant in project management brands for the past however many years.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love it. It gives that different picture.
Totally.
Cool. Next, I think you've watched a couple of these now. Speed rounds coming up.
Okay.
And don't feel like you have to pick one of the things that I threw out there. You can be creative and throw out something different.
Okay.
Not to just tee you up for the most obvious one. All right. First one, Slack, email, text, or phone call.
Got to be ClickUp chat. I think you knew that. But yeah, we use Slack all the time before, but now we're fully in ClickUp chat and it does a ton of amazing things. So I really like it.
Agile or waterfall?
Oh, maybe this is a cop out, but it's somewhere in between. It's got to be somewhere in between. I think waterfall is super important to understand your different phases of the project and to have a start and a finish in mind. But I think in each of those stages, you can go through an agile process of getting something out there to be reviewed, iterating on it, and then moving to the next stage. So I don't think it all has to be totally worked out from the beginning.
Speed or perfection?
That's also hard because I'm a bit of a perfectionist, but I do think speed is important. Like with agile in mind, it's helpful to iterate on things. Like instead of spending all this time to get something right the first time, someone else may think it's wrong as much as you think it is right. So getting something out there quickly to be reviewed, to fix, to maybe fail the first time, that's okay. But speed is important. but put some effort into it.
There you go.
Give something nice the first time. Don't do like the bare minimum.
All right. Favorite PM tool?
Oh, ClickUp, of course. But I really mean it. Like I'm amazed every day by the fact that I'm not in email and I'm doing everything, documents and whiteboards and chat in one place. It's incredible. And I forget what it's like to do anything else, but it is really amazing.
I'm not going to lie. It's incredible. Now, even with all the integrations for like email or for calendar invites and everything, it's
I
like
know.
you can literally do
Yeah,
everything.
we could have a ClickUp special edition and just talk about ClickUp features another time.
Yeah, exactly. It's crazy. All right. I'm going to put you in a tough spot. Worst PM tool.
Okay. Worst PM tool is not actually a PM tool, but probably the most widely used, Excel or Google Sheets. It's not a PM tool, but I do think that's what most people use. And you don't get any of the benefits of automated workflows or reports or collaboration or anything. So Excel, no good. I think any actual PM tool is going to be better. Second worst would probably be Microsoft Project, just because it's unnecessarily complicated.
It's so funny. I've done, you're my fifth one now, AJ, even though we officially are launching this week, but we had 4 that said Microsoft Project's the worst, and one
Not good.
who said was the best. It is
Oh,
very confusing. And I think that's so I'm very interested to see over this year, how it plays out, because I
yeah,
think
you
it's
gotta
either
make
one way or
a
the other.
whatever, like is the end of the season or the last episode, you need some type of bar chart of who said what.
Yeah, I know. That's going to be a good one. Let's flash it up, do an end of year calculation here. All right. And then final one, certifications. How do you feel about them, especially in project management? Yes, no, do they add value?
So I am technically a certified Scrum Master. I have the SAFe certification. And I did learn a lot, but most of all, I'm going to say no to certifications. Like that, no one ends up getting that specific on the project. And at the end of the day, it's just not what's important to making a project successful. Like the communication with the customer, getting the team aligned, achieving the goals, that's what matters. And you can do that in a lot of different ways. And I don't think these very complicated methodologies are the way or are going to get you there. So I'm mostly a no, but there's still some good things to be learned from those courses.
Yeah, I think that's fair. That's a fair assessment of them. And career-wise, maybe they help a little bit if you're trying to
Yeah.
get a job or something.
And by the way, I really like the SAFe certification. I started going down the path of getting a PMP and I was like, this is crazy. Like this is so much stuff. And I just gave up on it. It just did not seem valuable to me anymore.
Yeah, I don't know very many people that think it was valuable to begin with. It's everything. It's everything, right? I'm a former PMP holder. I let it lapse on purpose so that I stopped doing the
You're
work.
making a statement.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm making the statement, but I think there's so much value in some of the content that's out there and the standardization of it. It is heavy cert. And I joked about this earlier. I'm hoping that people will listen to this to get their PDUs, but I hope PMI doesn't blackball me.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. Just kidding. I know they wouldn't do that. All right. Let's start to wrap it up here. If you could give a young AJ right out of college one piece of advice, what would it be and why?
Wow. That's intense.
Yeah.
I think I would say just like keep trying to get that exposure to as many things as possible. That first job I had was honestly perfect to get to get exposed to so many different areas. I was a really good student in college, but I did not do any like really great internships or anything like that. So career-wise, I wasn't totally sure what I wanted to do, but that was a great way to maybe make up for it. I got this job, I took it, I got exposed to so many different things, and I really was working compared to a lot of people I know. Their first job was like, they didn't really do that much. It was kind of like the intern job, like they just did these little things. So working for that small company, getting exposed, I think that was super, super valuable. compared to other people I know who maybe worked for larger, more impressive companies. But yeah, I would totally do that over again and would suggest that for myself if I were giving advice or also anyone else.
Yeah. Sometimes we just get lucky, right? We're in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was processing transfers between financial service institutions, like literally taking a piece of paper and putting it into an AS400 system. It was horrible. I wouldn't wish it upon my my mortal enemy. But yeah, I mean, like such great advice though to try to find that small company where you can do hands-on stuff. All right,
Totally.
this is the harder one, right? Because the random question, the secret question, where you have to think big. If you had unlimited resources, right? You could work with anyone in the entire world to do one project to fix one thing. What would it be?
Ooh, to fix one thing that would be good for project management. I mean,
Yeah.
jokingly, I would say the Boston transportation system because it's always down and messed up. I don't know if
Ooh, I
that's
love that.
a big enough idea.
I like it. I mean, that's a big enough problem.
It is. Yeah, I mean, I actually any project manager who's like, or even an MBA student probably learned about the big dig of Boston because it was one of the biggest overruns of all time. But I would love for us to revisit that because it's actually amazing and it made Boston so much better. But that's beside the point. The tea is terrible and it's always down and things are closed and it's a mess. So, okay, that's my answer.
All right. So now here's the cool thing about it. You can still do it, AJ. There's still a chance.
That's true. I can get a job right now with the MBTA.
Oh, geez. You just have to figure out some funding for it. That's all. So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
cool. Awesome. AJ, this is so fun. How do people get in contact with you? What's the best way?
LinkedIn would be great. We can connect on LinkedIn. You can send me a message. That works for me.
Awesome. Thanks, AJ. I really
No
appreciate
problem.
it. That's it. This was so much fun.
It was. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thanks for joining me. And thanks to all of you out there who joined us on Project Zero this week. Be sure to subscribe to Project Zero wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll catch you next time with another great project leader and their story. All right. Thanks, everyone.